Welcome back to another episode of the Indy Investor Pod. Today I'm with Steve Richards, and we're talking about building a business around the life that you want. Let's get to the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Indy Investor Pod. I am Brett Snodgrass. I'm going to host today's show, and I'm with my good friend Steve Richards. What's going on, Steve?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing fantastic. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, man. I always love having our conversations, and you always make me better. I love that.
Cool.
But
the same, man. The same.
I'm really excited for this show. You're super passionate about a topic that I think that you probably 80% of all the content that you put out there is mostly geared around building a business, a real business around the life that you want, painting that vision for what you actually want in life and kind of creating a business to support that, right? I mean, kind of tell us a little bit about that. I mean, that's where your heart is, that's where your passion is, and then we'll kind of get to the Indy investor, situation. I know you've been an Indianapolis investor for years now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to talk about that, but talk to us about your heart, man. Like building a business around the life that you want.
Yeah, man. You gotta be careful because if the episode gets 10 hours long pretty quick, but the short version of it is I just did it wrong. I got out of the corporate world and, I had a corporate trajectory that I think most people would think was awesome. And it was just like suck for me because I just got higher and higher, quicker and quicker. And I realized like every time it's like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Then it sucked. You know what I mean? It's like so unfulfilling. And so I had been bit by the entrepreneurial bug. When I got out of college in the late 90s, it was the .com craze. And so 2 or 3 of the first like 3 or 4 years out of college, it was all .com startups and Y2K projects that we did. I was consulting in the tech industry. And when all that busted, I didn't even realize it was a recession, quite frankly, back then. It was crazy. But I just saw like such a meteoric rise with people in this entrepreneurial nature, and then like this fall, and then there's like, oh, no one can make money on the internet. It's so just really funny to look back now. How many billion-dollar internet companies are there, now? But it was like, the internet didn't work. It's so funny. But like the 2000s are, the Y2K project, like nobody's computer shut down at January 1st, 2000. It was just such a funny time to get into business. And I thought, oh, that's why business is weird. That's why a bunch of people fail because of that. And so I continued to consult for 3 or like 4 more years. And then I started my own business. And it took me like 10 years later of like going crazy and doing hundreds of deals and owning multiple businesses. And I finally realized, I'm like, oh man, actually it's not COVID. It's not 2008 housing crash. It's not the .com crash. That's not what wrecks business is. What wrecks businesses is like life, mental illness, cancer, divorce, bankruptcy. Like these things happen, like people lose interest. And a lot of what happens as you guys know, most businesses fail. 90% of them probably, right? Whereas it's funny when you look at franchises, like 80% of those succeed. And the big difference is the model is all set up, right? And the systems and processes are all set up for you. And so what happens is most entrepreneurs start a business and they're all into the technical part of it. If you've read the E-Myth, which I'm sure a lot of people that listen to your podcast have read that. If you haven't, it's definitely a good read. But to kind of wrap this, put a bow on this, what I'm saying here, it's just funny that people get into the business and they think it's about the actual doingness of what they're doing. And they don't realize like how important the systems and processes are to build out, to actually make the business successful and to get the right people in the business to do those activities. And then what I found is if you don't learn all the business aspect of it and the business isn't fulfilling you personally, you won't have the heart, interest, or energy to get all that stuff done. Like, as I know you and I are visionaries. When I can think up a process like this, but if I have to document it and train somebody, it's like, I will find anything. I will clean my closet, like clean my garage. Like I'll do anything if I don't have to actually sit down. And so that's where the rubber meets the road is, is your business aligned? Is it fulfilling you? Whether it's your purpose, and that may take a while in business to get to where you can fulfill your purpose, but at least your business should be fulfilling your schedule and your checkbook. If you're not making money on it and paying yourself something that is worthwhile, a return basically as an owner, and your schedule sucks and you're not with your family or whatever, working out, going to church, whatever you want to do with your time, right? hanging out with your buddies. Why would you do it? Why wouldn't you just get a 9 to 5 that you're really crazy good at and you get paid well, and then you don't have to think about all the rest of the time is free for you to do whatever you want. You don't have to own a business. Owning a business is risky and it's stressful. So, that's through trial and error, I've learned, business at some is really about the systems, processes, people, teams. Like there's so much in there about owning a business, and then being able to get all that hard work done is really about making sure the business is aligned with who you are personally, so that you are willing to put the effort and work in that you need to get the business to where it needs to be. And so I've just gone on that journey over the last 20 years, and my heart, you said, where's your heart? My heart right now is I feel like my purpose in life is to impact people, is to create impact, specifically impact that will resonate and or ripple out to other people. And I resonate best with entrepreneurs, and I think I can affect entrepreneurs. And I think entrepreneurs will have a very big impact, because when you impact them, their ripple effect is their families, their vendors, their clients, their employees. Like entrepreneurs impact a lot of people. And if I can be a conduit, I mean, God's purpose for me is to do that. It's not me. I'm not doing it. I just feel fulfilled when I do it. And if I'm a conduit to all the things I've learned to help other people, and I know how much happier I am now than I was, 5, especially 10 years ago. I just want to do that. And so that's why 80% of my content, you said, in fact, I can't wait to talk about Indy real estate, but I rarely get involved in our real estate business here in town. I spend most of my time now, I'm trying to, build out something called the CEO Nation, and some other products that don't even have anything to do with real estate, some software products. So anyway, dude,
I
got
love
me going.
Now, I love where your heart's at. And I think you're exactly right that a lot of times as entrepreneurs get into business, they focus so much on trying to figure out just how to do certain aspects of the business. And they never get to the point where they cross over to building a business around it. A lot of times they're tired, they're exhausted, and they're doing all the time that they always put on the back burner the actual business and hiring and thinking about it and creating that vision. And so what do you see? I mean, you're friends with a lot of entrepreneurs. You're in mastermind groups, all the flippers and wholesalers in Indianapolis and property management companies. So a lot of entrepreneurs. And what do you see? What's the norm out there what do people where do they get stuck? I guess that's a great word I could use for myself too, that sometimes I have felt stuck in the past.
Hey, before I address that, speaking of you not being stuck anymore, I wanted to congratulate you publicly here for promoting Brian Snyder on your team to CEO. That's talk about not being stuck, like elevating into like a true visionary role where you're not even moving from working in your business to on your business. Now you're above your business. That's cool, man. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So,
appreciate that. It's been a journey, and it's still a transition. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, to your point, I know you're like a closet control freak too. So I should give my condolences and congratulations to Brian, because I'm sure you're gonna be like, hey dude, how's everything going? Do you need help with this? Can I help you? No, I got it, Brett. I got it, Brett.
Yeah.
But so to answer your question, I think a lot of it's not just Indianapolis, but I mean, everyone in Indy's a pretty normal place, right? So this is a pretty normal thing that goes on around everywhere in business. But I think you hit it pretty well on the head there. With people get so stuck in the doingness that they just do, and they don't work on the business, they work in it. And that's such a cliche. Like, I know that's probably a new term to a lot of people, but like once you get going, it becomes, everyone's like, oh, I'm working on my business or in my business. And like, so many people are actually working in their business. They think they're working on it and they're working in it. Quite frankly, until you do what you're doing or what I've done to get out of it, like you're still working in it. You think you're working on it. Even if you're building systems and processes, you're just managing and leading, that's still in your business. I mean, the business needs to operate without your, direct input, to be totally out of it, right? And so to truly be working on it. So I think a lot of guys get stuck with that. And Here's why is most people just don't know what they don't know, right? And so they don't understand what they should be doing as a leader. And it's really normal. And it's almost like a badge of honor that people like wear, right on their arm. It's like, oh, I hustle and grind 24/7. My stomach turns when I see that stuff. Like I have to stop myself from commenting like, hey dude, DM me because we need to talk. Like you need a therapy session. Like don't be proud of that. Like be proud that you didn't sleep all last week to build out systems and processes, and you didn't just work on your business. You actually got deals done, but while you did it, you took a little extra time and screen captured what you were doing, videoed it, typed up, transcribed the video, typed up a Word outline and uploaded it somewhere. So now there's a training module for what you did, and you tracked your hours while you did it. So you know how long it takes, and you worked with like a personality test or something like that to figure out the kind of person that needs to do this. So now you're setting yourself up to find the right person and give them instruction and know how long it takes them and give them the video. Like, so I hustled and grinded last week and got 3 deals done, but I also created something that is going to help me get out of the day to day. This, like, I can start to like get out of this. Right. And so like, that's not hustle and grind. Like that's putting your nose to the grindstone. Right. But I do think what's really funny, and I don't know if I'd like to hear if you agree with this, but like the doing this that everybody gets stuck in, it's the easiest part to get out of. There are 1 gajillion training courses, coaches, masterminds, peer groups. You don't have to learn anything. If I knew everything I know now, I could restart this business without learning anything about real estate. Like I need to know the basics. Like tell me the anatomy of a transaction, and I'm going to hire a transaction coordinator, a lead manager. I'm going to hire a marketing agency. I'm going to hire an acquisition guy, a dispositions guy, a general manager. Like I could reassemble this team without knowing really what's going on. That's not very practical, but isn't that funny? Like the part people get stuck in is like, there are a million people to hire who would gladly do that for you. Mm-hmm. And they're better at it than you are. And that's where people get stuck. They think they have to do something and they're so special. And we're not all that we're not that special in the actual like doing this of our business. There's thousands of people that can do what either of us do. So.
No, I definitely agree. And with all the information out there, I definitely agree with that. That you can, and that's what we do. We just leverage other people's resources. Everything that we do, we don't create. It's just, we just copy other people's stuff.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me you didn't come up with buy low, sell high, buy low, sell medium? I thought that was your business. I thought you created that business model.
No, man. But yeah, I think that's exactly. People just get stuck in, and it is a lot of work at first because you're working in your business, so you're doing deals, but then you're creating systems, and you don't have to complicate it so much too. I think people think that, oh, I have to go away for a whole week to write up this huge system, document everything, right? And you don't have to do that. Like you said, you can create videos and training while you're actually doing it. Mm-hmm. Technology these days affords us that. But sometimes it is feel like sometimes you're working 2 jobs in your business, on your business, and things like that. But I think that if you have the vision and the goal to get out of certain things of your business, and that's where I, kind of put the puzzle together. This didn't happen overnight where I hired Brian as our CEO. It's like, it's not out of thin air. This has been 3 years in the making, right? Putting this together. So I think that it does take a lot of work. But like you said, painting that vision, how important is that? And like, where do you, people that want this, they want to really, they have certain dreams that they want their life to look like. What's some things that where should they start, I guess? Because like you said, there's so many people, there's hiring, there's systems, there's a vision, all this stuff. Like, where should someone start out at?
Man, I'll tell you, can we get like, I'll get kind of detailed here for a second. Like I'll give, like, this is like, guys, get out a pen and paper if you can. Pause this if you're not ready to take notes. I'll give you a system that works unbelievably well for us, and it's pretty easy. So, and I'm going to relate this to, because I know a lot of people on this podcast may not be trying to go full-time in their business. They may have day jobs they like or careers that they're not planning to leave anytime soon. Although if they're honest with themselves, they may want to, they just don't think they can leave it. But guys, this will work for anything, like your marriage, your side hustle with your investments. Like if your retirement investment, instead of hiring a stock, like a broker or a financial guy, you're taking it into your own hands, and you got your day job and your family, but you're investing in Indy on the side or whatever it may be. It doesn't really matter. Like this is a key. So there's two things that have to happen. The first one is understanding what you want. And this is like a super practical. I'm not going to do justice to this because I know we have a limited amount of time, but literally the 60-second version is there's 4 questions. Brett, we did this at the mastermind last summer that you're out with us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what do you want? And that's a really tough question because most people don't know what they want. Like it's a really hard question. And I got to tell you guys, you know how when you go into a movie and like Superman flies and Batman falls off of a 100-story building, but he's fine when he hits the ground, like you kind of suspend reality when you're at a movie and you're like, people can fly and whatever. What people do when they dream and hope and pray about things, I think sometimes they don't suspend reality. They think, given my current relationship, my current job, my current financial situation, I can only make moves like 1 or 2 steps in any direction. And I'm anchored to kind of where I'm at. Like, forget all that. Like, this is like, I wake up one morning, I don't even know who or where I am, but it's the perfect version of me. It's like where I live, who I'm married to, how many kids do I have? Where do they go to school? What kind of car do I drive? What do I eat? Where do I work out? Where do I go to church? Whatever, right? What house do I live in? How many vacation homes whatever it is, where do I vacation? All this stuff. Get really detailed about what you want in your life. And I know sometimes people think that's a little hokey, but write it out and rewrite it and then speak it into your phone and listen to it. But get really in tune with what you would love to do if it ever worked out, like the perfect version, right, of your life. And then back time that into like, what do I really want? Like, we did this, we did it that same mastermind, but if you think about your mortality and, and you find out today you're going to die in a week, what would you do? Like the doctor says, hey, next, whatever day this is, add 7 days to it and you're going to die. If you start thinking about, I would, I'd pray over my kids at night and watch them sleep. I'd shoot videos to teach them how to like grow up. I would like call my parents. I would like jump on, I'd go visit somebody or whatever you would do. Like, that's really who you are. Like, that's the stuff that really matters. So like create a life where you can do that stuff. But this is a hard part. There's a book called Living Forward that if you guys want to check that out, Living Forward is a really cool book that will help you with compartmentalizing your life and getting a plan of where you're headed. And so to speed this up, so it's what do you want? And then once you have that question figured out, and you can do it for every aspect of your life, dig into the next second question out of 4 is, what am I doing to get it? A lot of people, if you're honest with yourself, not very much. I'm thinking about it and I screw around with it, but I'm not like super dedicated, insert going to the gym, eating healthy, taking care of my relationship with my wife, spending time with my kids. Like all these things are probably slipping if most people are honest. The third question is, how's that going for you? How's that going for me? So what do I want? What am I doing to get it? The third question is, how's that going for me? Be honest. And then the fourth question is, what am I going to do next? So when you're in that reflective place of like, this is what I really want. I want 10 rentals free and clear in 10 years in Indianapolis. I want to flip 2 houses a year on the side with limited input from California in Indianapolis. I want to generate enough income to quit my day job in the next 24 months. Like whatever you want, like how is it, what are you doing to get it? Right? Like I'm listening to the podcast. I'm buying deals from Simple. I'm going to join this mastermind. Like I'm going to, whatever. I'm not taking a promotion at work because I can't take the workload on. I'm starting to back out of work, whatever that is. Like what is happening? Be honest with how that's working. And is it getting you fast enough to where you want to be? And then what am I going to do next? Really starts to be the action plan. And then I think second to that, and much more succinctly, is you got to learn if real estate's your jam, whether it's a side deal or your main deal, you got to learn a way to make money and master it. And that's part of like honing in on the systems and processes. And I don't want to mince my words here. Like I know I was telling everybody not to get stuck in the day-to-day forever, but you do at some point have to master a craft, because if all you've done is kind of like screw around and every once in a while you get lucky and make money on a deal, like that's not, you can't build a system and processes and hire people around that. You actually have to know whether it's hire a coach to tell you, buy a training course and hand that to someone else. It does, you don't have to do it yourself forever, but somehow you need to master or have a ability to teach people of how to master making money, right? So it's consistent, profitable, and repeatable. And so you can't half butt your way through a rehab and, think you're going to make 30 grand and then make 20 and be like, well, I'm a flipper now. No, you just literally missed your revenue by 30%. Like, what happened? Try it again, do it again. And then kind of master that craft. Right. And get really good if you're buying rentals, get really good at managing your manager, right? If you hire a property manager, you still have to do that. So being really clear on who you are and what you want, and then mastering a way to make money, even if that's not your end game forever, that money that you will make will fuel your ability to get what you want. Right. And I think those are two big takeaways. If you guys are listening to this episode, that I think would behoove anybody to spend time focusing on those things, at least quarterly, at least really dive in and every few months and think about that.
I love it, man. So I know we're kind of running out of time here, and that's a big question. What do you want? And I want to ask you, like, why do people get so afraid of that question? And that's just, do you think it's just too big? Like they don't want to think about it, or they think they might fail, so they don't even try? Because that's a big question. And sometimes I go back and forth on, what do I want to do and things like that. But why do you think people get stuck on that? Like, why do you think nobody ever thinks about that? Like as kids, we thought about it all the time. Like, oh, I want to do this when I grew up, or, we didn't think about, I don't know, feel failure, I guess.
Yeah, dude, I think it's definitely, there's fear of failing, there's fear of the unknown, and there's fear of success.
Hmm.
And honestly, you're not only the coaching, mentoring, masterminds and stuff I've done for years. I mean, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last 20 years doing stuff like that. Probably the most important stuff I've done is straight up therapy, man. Mental health is such an important, spiritual health are two really important things. And if you're not right spiritually and you're not right mentally, like it's really hard to tackle those questions that I just told you. You can't really, you'll have so much head trash going on. You'll never be honest with yourself about who you want to be. You'll be in a constant struggle. Right. And so, really exploring your spirituality and your mental health and being mature and your emotional intelligence, I think is really important. And I would say this, the other thing that's more tangible, because all that stuff's kind of high level, the really tangible thing that I think keeps people from being honest with themselves about what they want is expectations in their current relationships.
Mm.
Call it a rut, call it whatever you want, but like your wife's used to you making good cash in your 9 to 5 and you really want to quit and you don't want to let her down, or you're worried about your kids, or you don't want to let your parents down because they really want you to go to college and be an attorney, whatever it is. I think our relationships and the expectations that we have limit our thinking heavily. And that's all suited around just straight up better communication of understanding who you are and being able to communicate maturely and effectively instead of demanding what you want, just being able to openly communicate with your loved ones and the people connected to you about who you are and what you really want, and make it more of a conversation instead of a mandate. And you might be surprised that those people are more supportive than you think.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to kind of open up the honesty, I've been in this transition. This is kind of what brought about hiring Brian as CEO and everything like that was, I just wanted to be more of myself. And honestly, I started to lose some of myself in that sort of position, right? So I think whenever it comes to what do I really want, I mean, there's certain things that a lot of people don't even know because I really don't let it out, because sometimes I fear of, I get sucked into the approval of other people, what they might think of me, and I can't really be myself. So at the end of the day, like, what really makes what makes Steve more Steve? Like, you're really the only one who really knows that. What makes you really come alive? And I think that's the whole point of this, is like, we want people to really live their best life now, and it's different for everybody. I mean, everybody has different passions and interests, but at the end of the day, like, you really want to live and just be more of you, right? Like, what are the things that you love, that you're super passionate about, that makes you come alive and all that. And you want your business to support that, right? At the end of the
Yeah.
day. So
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree, dude.
that's good stuff. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Steve. I know that you do a lot of content out there and you really help entrepreneurs and CEOs. I know that you're launching a new um, Facebook group, and I think there's a podcast coming out, but the CEO Nation, just give us, what does that mean? And just kind of give us a high level of what that is.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's kind of where I told you guys at the beginning where my heart is. So I've shifted more out of our real estate, our wholesale and renovation business, and we've started a few different businesses now. And kind of through that process, I'm seeing a bigger picture, and I really wanted to run masterminds to help real estate guys like understand there's a business that they should run. But now I've seen that I was limiting myself, so I've kind of broadened that out. And so that's where the CEO Nation was born out of the idea that basically many entrepreneurs who think they own a business, even if they have an LLC, a website, business cards, a bank account, and employees, none of that's a business yet. Those are all things you need in a business. That's not a business. A business is systems, a revenue model that works, right? A bookkeeping system, a lead generation process, a lead conversion process, a fulfillment process. Like that's a business. And so my desire with the CEO Nation is to change the trajectory that entrepreneurs are on with their path so they don't get into the rut that I went through the first 10, 12 years doing this in business. And I want to help, essentially people that own a job, they think they own a business. They really own a job that they can't get away from, right? They're really self-employed. And they've got helpers and they're kind of like a super self-employed person with a team instead of a business. So I want to help those hustling and grinding entrepreneurs become business owning CEOs. And the whole point is that the business works for you to give you what you want instead of you working for the business to like feed the business, right? Because that's a cycle where the business keeps sucking you in, right? And as you said, you sell your soul away a little bit at a time. The longer you do that, you can do it for a while, but you got to do it so you're getting out of it, or else it'll slowly eat your soul away. And so that's what the CEO Nation is. If you guys want to follow or check me out, the CEONation.com has a lot of resources on it. There's a group called the CEO Nation. The podcast is actually hitting. It's delayed right now. It should have already been out, but it's hitting next week. We've got training products. We got a lot of free webinars. We got a lot of stuff out there. And the Facebook group is totally free. And I just want to engage and help entrepreneurs on their trajectory. And I love connecting people. That's why I'm constantly, I'm always pulling our peer group here together in town. I have this feeling of wanting to connect with people and not just one-on-one, but like in groups. And the CEO Nation is kind of a manifestation of that.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for everything that you do, Steve. And I know that you guys have an awesome Indianapolis business. I know we didn't get much into that, but I know you've been doing Indianapolis investing for a long time.
That's cool, dude. Sorry to interrupt you. Everyone on here just buy from Simple. Like I don't want. I'm not even gonna say the name of my real estate company. It's not what this is about. I love what you do, Brett. I appreciate this podcast and everything you do. So I love it. I'll do this anytime you want.
Sounds good. Well, that wraps up the show today, guys. This episode of the Indy Investor Pod. If you have any questions, reach out to me or probably Brian. Brian's the one who hosts most of the Indy Investor Pods. And so you can reach us on Facebook. Just check out Brian Snyder or Brett Snodgrass, and Steve Richards is on Facebook as well. If you have any questions, just message us on those platforms. And thank you guys so much. And this wraps up today's episode, and see you guys soon.
Peace.